Chocolate, a show about ZK products, where we break them down with rich flavors and sweet insights. I'm Queenie, and I'll be co hosting this episode with Omer. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by Madhavan Malolan, co founder of Reclaim Protocol, leveraging ZKTLS to build the API of the internet, no less. So, first of all, Maddy, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what led you to found Reclaim?
For sure. We're getting right into the meat of it. First of all, thank you for having me today. Um, as I said, I'm Madhavan. I go by Maddy, founder of Reclaim Protocol. Yeah, I'll quickly walk you through why we're building Reclaim and how we landed up over here, right? I don't know if you know, but we also run this product called Questbook. All right, so Questbook is a grants management tool where folks like Compound, Polygon, Arbitrum, all these guys are running their grant program. Now, when we launched in 2021, our first customer was Polygon, right? And back then, Polygon, of course, was very big. A lot of developers started applying to these grant programs. But one thing that we heard again and again is people saying, hey, we want to apply to these grants, but we want to apply pseudonymously, right? And the grant managers were like, okay, sure, but they're claiming that they worked at Microsoft. They're claiming that they've contributed to Ethereum and so on. But how do we know for sure these folks are pseudonymous? So that's kind of the problem that we started with. Okay, there are these pseudonymous folks who, of course, have an identity of having contributed somewhere, of having worked somewhere, of studied somewhere. Now, how do we make that information accessible without doxing them? Is kind of the initial problem statement that we started off with in 2021. Um, and then we went down the rabbit hole. Early 2022 is when I think we started working on the HTTPS certificates and all that kind of stuff to generate ZK proofs. That's very, very high level, but happy to go into detail to as much as you want.
Yeah, so then I'm curious, why it ended up like you choosing ZKTLS as the solution.
Um, to be really honest, in 2021, when we were trying to solve this problem, the first solution was, hey, we'll be the custodians. Query, let's say you are wanting to be pseudonymous, you would come to our platform and you would dox yourself to us, and we would pass on the information to the grant managers, right? So that's actually the dumb first um, version that we implemented. And in fact, in 2022, and we were obviously not satisfied with this. Like, I mean, it's okay, but crypto is a little bit more, idealistic driven, and there are like folks who are not even comfortable talking themselves to us. So we were always looking for better solutions. Early 2022 is when I was in this conversation with Eli from Starkware and discussing this problem, and he was the one who nudged me in the direction of, hey, why don't you try to generate these proofs using HTTPS certificates? Um, and that seemed like a much better solution rather than just you know asking people to dox themselves to us. Uh, more idealistic, more wholesome, so that the folks who were really worried about the pseudonymity, even they were comfortable. Once we implemented the ZK proofs, so that was a very promising early research. That is, when we started talking to the customers, saying, "Hey, sure, you're not willing to dox yourself to us, but if we implement something like this, will you be comfortable?" And the answer seemed to be yes. So we were like, "Okay, fine, let's go ahead, go build this." And remember, back then, our early prototypes would take 15 to 18 minutes to generate a ZK proof on a mobile phone, and it was like nowhere near um, production ready back then. But it was clear from the community that this is a solution that they wanted. So we continued to invest in it, and eventually, of course, we realized, hey, this thing that we've built, we got the proving times to under whatever 1 minute 30 seconds, and now only two seconds. We realized that, hey, this is a technology that solves a problem beyond just that identity problem on Questbook. So we decided to spin that off as a separate brand.
Great. By the way, is Guestbook is still there? Like
Questbook
the
is very much there.
first.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, very much there. Questbook is very much up and running, and millions of dollars are being dispersed right now. And most of the top, you know, ecosystems are using Questbook for giving out grants.
great. So it's actually the first use case for
100%,
reclaim.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. And
I
then,
think that's been the nature of our business. That is, we've always, because we had the luxury of always having a first customer even before building out the product. I think it's helped us a lot to stay very pragmatic, because we needed to solve the problem. Like we can't just chase the idealism for the sake of chasing the idealism. We also have to continuously balance it with the practicality of actually building something that we can use.
great. And can you also explain how actually reclaim protocol works?
Yeah, so essentially, if you look at the industry right now, there are like two or three ways that people are trying to do ZKTL, whatever you want to call it. ZKTL is web proof. People have problems with one definition over the other. Um, and there are three ways. The first one is the proxy mode. Then you have the MPC mode, and then you have the TE mode. But a lot has been said about the differences in these three approaches. But essentially, we operate in the proxy mode. What that means is, whenever you open a website um, on your on your on your mobile phone or whatever, you're trying to generate a proof, you open the website on a browser that we've created, and all of the traffic. The only thing that this browser is doing is essentially, instead of sending the request directly from your browser to the website, it would be routed through a HTTP proxy. Now, this HTTP proxy is obviously going to be looking at all of the encrypted requests, encrypted responses. It cannot look at the plain text, but it's looking at all the encrypted requests and responses, and it's giving an attestation saying, okay, yes, this is the request that I saw that went, this is the response that I saw that came back. I just gives that attestation. And using this attestation, we generate a ZK proof on the client side saying, hey, this was the request that was made, and this was the response that came back. And inside this response, when decrypted with a private key, not a private key, a shared key, it contains so and so information, right? So that is a client side ZK proof. Just to reiterate, what we are trying to prove on the client side is, hey, I have a, a decryption key for the encrypted data that came from this website, and when it is decrypted using the decryption key that I have, it contains the following string. Right, so that's essentially what we are trying to prove as a ZK proof on the client side.
Got it. So how would you comment on the trade-offs between different options? Like you mentioned, there's also MPC and there's also TE.
Yeah, there are like multiple dimensions of doing a comparison. I think the first one definitely is that of performance, right? As I was telling a little while earlier, first few prototypes used to take several minutes to generate a proof, and that's obviously not acceptable for anything that's user. Or sorry, I should not say anything. For a large variety of consumer-facing applications, it was not something that we could go out with. And then we've tried this, right? Like we've gone talked to customers when our proving time was over a minute, and nobody converted really. Uh, so practicality wise and performance wise, I think proxy mode is that does pretty good. Um, and the other one that also does really well is the TE mode, right? So both TE and proxy are good in terms of performance. T is slightly better actually, but the proxy mode has this ZK proof generation on the client side, which still is pretty slow. Um, and the MPC mode is obviously at this point much slower. Still takes like several dozens of seconds at least. Um, so that's on the performance side, and on the security side, the TEA modes obviously you have to trust a TEE. Um, And the MPC board is definitely the most secure in the sense that if you look at from vectors of attack kind of a perspective, if you're a powerful actor, maybe that's a way to attack the proxy mode. So proxy mode is like kind of the Goldilocks in the in the trade-offs, right? So it's the best trade-off across both security, trust assumptions, and performance. That's why we currently use the proxy mode. But I think I'll also use this opportunity to say, um, hey, that debate is almost now um, commoditized, right? In the sense that if you want to do the MPC mode, you already have TLS Notary, which is open source. If you want to do proxy mode, you already have Reclaim Protocol, which is open source. TE, sure, I don't think we have a open source version yet, but I know that the teams working on it are on the verge of making it open source. So I think that has already been commoditized, and products, including ourselves, when we are talking to customers, that portion of the stack is completely replaceable, right? So it's almost one-to-one mapping in terms of what the various solutions are going to be able to do. So yeah, even though there are differences today, and there are certain trade-offs, like for us, the best trade-off seems to be, uh, you know, trading off a little bit of security to get a lot of improvement in performance is super important for us, especially because we work with a lot of Web2 customers. So in that context, definitely the amount of security that the proxy mode is more than enough, way more than enough, and the performance is what we care about. So yeah, those are kind of the high-level trade-offs among the three modes.
So you're using client-side proving, correct?
Yes, yes. The ZK proof itself
Uh,
is generated on the client. Yes.
so how did you, can you describe the experience? What's the level of readiness of like the tech stack, like the ZK tech stack for client-side proving?
Those two are going to have very different answers. My how was our experience with generating the ZK proofs? Horrible. I wouldn't wish it on the worst of the enemies. Also because now the time frame that you have to look at is um, you know 2022, right? So back then probably Socrates was kind of the more popular thing out there. Circom was just like coming up. So the user experience as a developer was really bad. Like we couldn't get anything to work meaningfully. Anyway, I think, but credit where it's due. Circom improved very fast and improved a lot very fast. So our first implementation obviously was using Circom. Like the first thing that we were actually able to put out in production was using Circom. Um, you know, the, and if we were to do it again today, I think the experience is much better, right? The documentations are good, the developer tooling is good. So if we had to do it all over again using Circom, I think we would have a much better experience. But back then it was pretty shit. Um, and then, however, we've deprecated our Circom implementation. We are now using NARC or GNARC or however you pronounce that. Um, and that's been great. Like the performance boost that we've gotten has been immense. At the cost of a little bit of more um, you know a weightlifting in terms of writing the code itself. Like if you're comfortable with Go, maybe, or if you're experienced with Go, sure, yes, it might be a little easier. But for our team, we were not like super experienced with Go already, so there was a little bit of that lift. But that's trivial. I mean, easy to overcome. But I would say Gnark is very mature right now, very performant for sure. And that said, we are currently looking at Noir as well. If like the benchmarks seem to suggest that we can get more performance, so we are currently looking at a Noir implementation of Reclaim. So and yeah, I do not have benchmarks to report on whether we are getting improvements really or not, but just to illustrate the point that ZK is changing super fast, and we as product builders always have to be on the cutting edge. And many times, even when the libraries themselves are not ready, no, it's not like not super ready. I don't think it's even audited so far, but we always have to be on the cutting edge to make sure that you know we are able to juice out as much performance as we can from the technology that exists. ZK is moving, whoa, extremely fast. You guys would know, and it's unbelievable. Um, and like, yeah, I think if there were no LLMs in the world, I would say ZK was definitely the fastest improving technology. Or probably one could argue it still is at that level, but it doesn't get um, the limelight because it's all taken away by AI, I guess.
Beautiful. That's kind of like one of the most balanced um, like pipelines I've heard of. Like you're actually building or you have applications, like there's actually use case at the end. You have a product that can, address this use cases, and there's technology that you are aware of, and you're kind of like adapting to the latest, so that you can like provide better user experience. That's
Yeah,
nice. Very complete.
yeah.
Feels
In
normal.
fact, we feels normal. Uh, yeah, in fact, beginning of 2025, we're going to be launching a new brand, for which is essentially packaging all of it. Like right now, Reclaim Protocol as a brand is like still, way down on the stack. Like, it's still a protocol. But we'll be launching a new brand that is, more API friendly, more enterprise friendly, which packages a lot of uh, a lot of things that our customers ask for again and again, especially on the identity side of things. Just package that as a simple SDK slash API, and that'll be a separate brand. So again, to your point, we have a clear use case in mind that we want to go solve. And we are going to be building the entire stack to make sure we are perfectly optimized as much as we can for that use case.
Great. That actually led to my next question. So I'm curious about the developer experience when they try to, integrate with Reclaim protocol.
Yeah, this is something that I am most proud of. Is our developer experience is actually pretty good. I don't know if you guys have tried it out yet, but you should if you've not. Um, the we're extremely proud of our documentation. Right, we've spent so much time on our documentation. Um, we have these SDKs. Okay, like, oh sure, SDKs are a must-have in the sense that, okay, how else will you integrate? So we have these SDKs for all of the major platforms like, Flutter, JavaScript, Kotlin, Swift, and also all these on-chain SDKs. We have obviously for EVMs, but we also have Solana, Cosmos, Polkadot, whatever. So basically the point is, it does not matter how you want to use Reclaim protocol, how you want to generate these proofs. We built out the SDKs for all the possible platforms that we could think of, and that's like a dedicated effort that we put in, saying, hey, let's make sure we don't want to predict what our customers are going to be using, right? We don't want to predict, what platforms they're going to be on, and we also do not want to predict what data sources they're going to use to generate these ZKTLS proofs, right? So, for example, one customer might want to use Amazon, one somebody might want to use Shopify, somebody want to use, let's say bankofamerica.com, somebody else wants to use a university website. We don't know, right? So we can't predict all of this beforehand. So we were like, hey, we're going to make this as generalized as we can. Right, so that's an early decision that we took. And once we built out these SDKs, obviously you need a way for people to be able to self-serve. So we did two things. One, we invested a lot in our documentation, right? So we spent a lot of time over there. We refined it, and I feel incredibly proud that a lot of people are able to come in and integrate end to end without our help. Right? And you can see this on our Telegram chat. A lot of people who would come in and ask questions of like several stages later, right? When they get stuck somewhere else, but not at the stage of, hey, how do I get started or how do I start integrating? So that's not a question. That's the first thing that we've done. The second thing that we've done is we built this thing called a dev tool. Not very exciting in its name, but essentially what it does is you can come in uh, and basically paste in what website you want to generate this proof from, and generate what we call a provider using which a ZK proof can be generated. So let's say let's say you want information of, hey, have I has the user bought a sneaker on Amazon? That's the information, let's say, you care about for your use case. And let's say nobody has built a provider before of extracting this information from Amazon. If you go to any other ZKTLS product right now, you need to, work with their team so that they add support for, Amazon. They add support for extracting the information about, hey, have you bought a sneaker? Um, I don't want to comment on how long it takes on other products for them to add that integration, but something that we are extremely proud of is this is something that you don't have to wait on us for in Reclaim Protocol. You can just go to the dev tool, configure this yourself, and in a matter of seconds or minutes, you have the provider ready that you can actually start integrating. So much so that that flow is now I don't know if you already saw the tweet, but it is increasingly being done by AI. So for most use cases, you just say, "Hey, Amazon, I want to extract whether or not you bought a sneaker." I think the AI should be able to generate that provider within like a couple of seconds with a high degree of accuracy. Of course, it's not 100% there yet, but I would say it's no, with O3 and stuff like that. Maybe it gets better, but um, yeah, it's already pretty good. Like 80% accuracy, I would be very confident in saying.
Interesting. Is that the same case with user experience?
So we use the same technology on the user side as well, but in a slightly different context. Is sometimes the providers that we generate start failing, and these start failing because the website changes. This is super rare, especially. Okay, there are two ways to generate this provider. I need to throw some light on this. Is either using JSON responses, basically the API requests that are fired from inside a website, usually for client rendered websites or stuff like that. So when we're using the JSON API, we do not have this problem. Like the JSON API is almost never changed, so we do not have that problem. Sometimes the providers, when the JSON APIs are not available, they're created using the HTML responses, and HTML responses change all the time, right? Like the UI gets updated, or some element moves around in the web page. So in those cases, the providers start failing. The proof generation starts failing, um, and that's obviously not acceptable for a user experience. So what we do is the same AI that is generating the provider in the first place. We use the same technology to say, hey, looks like the website has changed. Can you fix the provider on that that we previously had, which is now failing? And the AI is able to that is a much easier problem for an AI to solve, right? It is very specific. It knows that this provider used to work. Like it was able to extract the sneaker from Amazon.com until yesterday, but today it's not able to extract. It knows that this is usually the structure of the page, but something small has changed. So it's able to fix that on the fly, very like 100% accuracy on that, and without breaking the user experience, we are able to generate these proofs. Now, the challenge I think I should also clearly lay out is there is um, a privacy concern. That is, for the AI to be able to generate these proofs, there's some amount of data that needs to be sent to either an OpenAI or a Claude or whatever. And in some cases, it's not acceptable, especially if it's like bank details and something that's highly sensitive. So in those cases, we do not enable the AI. Um, but yeah, we are working with a few teams to run a Llama 70B inside our TEE and try to see if we can do some privacy preservation over there. But I would say that's still experimental. Llama 70B itself is not great enough right now for us. But anyway, that's the dimension of our exploration. Hopefully, we have a privacy preserving solution that we can enable for everything. But right now, if it is sensitive information, we just turn it off. but we are able to generate these proofs with almost 100% accuracy when the website changes a little bit.
That's cool. Is this an open source AI?
No, right now we are using OpenAI and Claude. Um,
Hmm.
we've not yet tried it with the Llama 3.3, um, which I'm told is better even in the ATB parameter size. I've not tried that yet, so that's actually going to be our next exploration on that dimension. But when we tried it with ATB Llama 3.1, it was not good enough.
Got it. That's super helpful. Since you mentioned privacy risks, so I'm curious, like, are there any other like risks related to compliance or censorship or privacy, since you guys are dealing with data?
That's a great question. I would make a more audacious claim over here. Is the reason we are doing a lot of the ZK proof and like cryptography shit is to kind of save costs on compliance, right? So okay, now let's look at another way of doing the same thing. Let's take a customer. So the customer, let's say, wants to verify, hey, is this person who is applying to my let's say job portal, and they're saying they worked at Microsoft before. Did they really work at Microsoft? Let's say this is their use case. Um, and I, as a customer, would log in onto that portal. I would apply to their job or whatever, and then prove that I work at Amazon. I work at Microsoft by logging in into my Microsoft portal, right? So the moment I log in into my Microsoft portal, I can generate a proof that okay, this is my employee ID, and that's a proof that I'm an employee at Microsoft. Great. Now, um, there are two ways to do this. One is I just take the user's username password and basically log in on their behalf and extract the information and give it to this employer, right? And that in the Web2 world that is well acceptable in the sense that Plaid, which is I don't know, a multi-million or billion-dollar company right now, has been doing this for a long time. In that it takes your username password of your bank account and logs in on your behalf and extracts information and shares it with third parties. If that was acceptable, I mean, logging into your Microsoft portal should be acceptable as well, right? Um, but the big but is that if we do that, if we take the username password, we store it with us, and then there are two challenges that come. First of all, we become a honeypot for hackers. So hackers have a strong incentive to like come and attack us and get all of these passwords all at once. And a second, which is a derivative of that information, is um, we have to do a lot of compliance because we are storing PII. Like this is like extremely sensitive information. You're storing people's username, passwords. You have access to their I don't know, their bank accounts, their Microsoft accounts, their employee ID, and maybe some information inside their employee portal, whatever. We have access to a lot of PII if we just take their username password, which would imply that we have to do a lot of compliance to make sure that their data is protected. And the amount of compliance that we have to do is in the order of hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And that is the cost that we are saving by saying, hey, we as a server, as an entity, we do not have access to any information. We don't have access to your username password. We don't have information to what information is even extracted. All that we have access to is what is the encrypted request that went to this website, what is the encrypted response that came back, and that does not have any information. So we do not have that compliance cost in dealing with an external customer, and that is why I think that's the business justification for why we are doing all of these ZK proofs. Otherwise, why are we doing these ZK proofs? Like, what purpose other than the idealism is it solving? Um, and when you look at it from a business side, this is the cost that we are saving. That is super important, and yeah, we can just Like even if all that you are doing as a competitor is taking the user's username password and trying to extract information, your cost is going to be higher than the cost that I am able to offer because you will have to do compliance. I do not. Even though mine is a more sophisticated technology, it's actually cheaper because there's no compliance cost that really applies to us.
Mm. Then how do you handle data storage?
All the data is stored on the client side. So once the proof is
Oh.
generated, it's all on the client side. The only thing that is outside the system is a signature on the encrypted data. Everything, all the other proofs are on the client side. And in fact, if there's a customer and they require certain proofs, the proofs are directly sent from the mobile phone to their backend without even touching our backend. So uh, yeah, we even after the proof has been generated, we do not have access to what proof was generated.
Mm. Okay, cool. So actually, data sovereignty is not a new concept. So there have been many initiatives in the space, but I haven't seen only limited success. So I'm curious from your perspective, what are the key challenges or barriers hindering the growth of data sovereignty solutions?
I mean, the biggest challenge is, truth be told, nobody gives a fuck. I mean, the users don't care.
Mm,
Okay, I wouldn't say like everybody doesn't care, but the wide majority of people, like, what is data sovereignty? Like, what is my data? That's such a hard question for my mom, right? Like, sure,
mm,
all of us over here, like, who are deep into cryptography, okay, fine, we understand what it means to self-sovereign data, but I think um, that's I think only us in the cryptographic circles who care about this. Very cypherpunk-ish ideal, right? But I don't think it scales um, across the population. That's number one. And number two, businesses don't care. Businesses don't care. Is the data self-sovereign or not? All that they care about is, hey, I need so and so information so that I can, execute rest of my business logic. In the previous example that we took, all that they need to know is, hey, are you an employee at Microsoft? If yes, I have a different business logic for the user. As long as they get that information, they don't care. They don't care whether we are scraping it, whether we are taking the user's username password. They don't care, or are we generating CK proofs? Even that they don't care. All that they care about is, hey, is the data coming in? So the users don't care, or they do not even have the mental models to evaluate what it even means for self-sovereign data, self-sovereign identity. And on the businesses side, they couldn't care less about how the data is coming in. So there are no incentives in the ecosystem to encourage more self-sovereign identity to actually get started. But that said, I don't want to sound pessimistic. Like, of course, I believe in those ideals, but it's just that there's a lot of education that still needs to be done before it becomes mainstream, if ever, right? So there needs to be a strong incentive structure on why people should care. People have only just started caring about end-to-end encryption. And we as crypto folks also use fucking Telegram, which is not end-to-end encrypted. Let's get there first. And self-sovereign identity is like even further down on the idealism spectrum. So, yeah, we're not nowhere close. Sorry.
Interesting. Then who do you think will be your earliest target users? Probably not your mom.
Oh no, my mom is definitely a target user. Or
Oh.
like right now we have um more than 45 paying customers right now who are all businesses, and the downstream customers of our businesses are all Web2 users who, yeah, like if you actually look at our website, there is no mention of the word ZK. There's no mention of the word crypto or blockchain or anything. It doesn't matter. We are an SDK that businesses can use to get information from users that was previously not accessible to them. That's our value prop. And if uh, yeah, if there's a product that is using Reclaim protocol to give access to, let's say, deals, discounts, or like some kind of other privilege, um, my mom would very well use it. Like all that she needs to do is log in into Amazon and like approve gets generated, which she doesn't even realize. Yeah, I mean, 100%. In fact, that's the UX benchmark that we have. Like a non-crypto user, A should be able to use it, and B should not get overwhelmed by what is happening. I think that's extremely important because that's something that I think is getting wrongly anchored in crypto is, oh, these crypto users will get it, so it's okay to have a pretty shit UX. But I don't think that yeah, that helps our case at all because our customers are all Web2 users.
I think this explains also the tagline of API of the internet.
Yeah.
Um, one question, Maddy, about monetization here. So, is it coming from DevTool? Like the customers are like, how does it work? If I want to be a paying customer, what am I paying for?
Oh yeah. So Uh, you're essentially paying on per proof basis. Um, but the billing information you have to feed it into the dev tool. Yes. Um, but in an ideal world, you don't need to use the dev tool at all. You should be able to generate the provider without using the dev tool. But practically speaking, that's not what we see. So the essentially you sign up to our dev tool and set up billing over there, and we charge you per proof generation basis, pay as you go. There are like different ways of charging. In some cases, we charge on a pay as you go basis. In some cases, we have a subscription. So yeah, we are a little flexible on that, but all of the payments happen through the dev tool.
Yeah. So Manny, you just mentioned that you've got more than 40 customers. That's actually a very impressive number. Yeah. So could you please share some examples of the interesting use cases?
Oh yeah, like all the examples that I've been taking in this podcast so far are real customers. Like there is a sneaker company that is giving a 20% off on their sneakers if you've made a purchase of a sneaker on Amazon in the last 12 months. Right? So that's something that's actually live. There are people who are verifying your background. Hey, where have you worked? Which university have you gone to? Those kind of use cases are also like very much real. In the Web3 world, the kind of use cases that I'm super excited about is people playing Web2 games like Fortnite or FPL or whatever, and then having betting pools on chain. So you and I could have a betting pool on chain saying, hey, who's going to score more on Fortnite this week? And then at the end of the week, both of us generate ZK proofs of what is our score, and one of us gets the money. Right, so those are like super interesting use cases that are being built right now, at least in Web3. Um, yeah, those are our top three categories, right? Number one is background verification, like which university, which company do you work at. That's easily our biggest target audience. The second is deals and discounts. I would call this retail. So the sneaker company example that I gave, that's the second biggest. Both of these are completely Web2. And in Web3, the biggest that we're seeing is Web2 games with Web3 economics. Um, that's our third big. Of course, there's like a long tail of other use cases, but these are our top three. And in fact, you can see um, all of our customers who are not in stealth mode on our website, like on our main website. You just scroll down, you'll see all of our customers listed over there, along with their videos, along with their links, so you can go play with it as well.
I'm curious, how did you onboard them? Did you need to educate them about like what ZKTLS is?
Great question. And of course, we tried that, failed miserably. And the 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 thing that works is we don't talk about ZKTLS at all. We don't even talk about ZK proof. We don't talk about cryptography. What we say is, hey, you need access to this information. Do you have access to this information? No? Okay, fine, we can get it for you. That is all that matters. That's the problem that they have. They don't have this problem of, oh, we have this information, but it's not ZK proven. That's not the problem they have. The problem they have is they do not have access to the information at all of the user, and that is what we provide. It just so happens that the technology underneath is a ZK proof. Like, do you care if I give you an API and say, hey, this API underneath uses Node.js? You don't care whether I use Node.js or I use Go or Rust. I think that's the same kind of abstraction that applies to even ZK proofs. Like all that they care about is, hey, are you solving the problem that I have? If yes, I'll use you. If not, no. The ZKTLS is definitely something that's a little bit more significant in the Web3 circles. That is okay, fine. Like, now people know that okay, this is a new technology that exists, which could solve problems that previously uh, could not be solved, and those are definitely use cases that are coming our way. But those are use cases in which we have to do zero selling, right? So developers coming to us because they learn about ZKTLS. Over there, we don't have to do any selling. Or for there, we can indulge in stuff like how ZK proofs work, how ZKTLS works, and stuff like that. We do. But when we are doing the selling, like when we are doing external outreach, ZKTLS is not even part of the script.
Great. That's the best scenario when technology is the the best fit for their pain points. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So Maddie, what is the ultimate vision or end game for Reclaim in your eyes?
Look, I will have to like kind of dodge this question a little bit in the sense that, hey, what does it even mean, right? Like, um, the question assumes that there is an end game, right? And that it is well defined. But truth be told, even 1 or 2 years back, we were building Questbook, and Reclaim was just a identity solution or whatever, right? So things are continuously changing, and it's really hard to say. Okay, but I'll still try to answer your question. In the short term, we are going to go after these three use cases that I mentioned. Like we'll be going after background verifications, we'll be going after deals and discounts, and we'll be going after Web2 games with Web3 economics. That's extremely short term. Maybe this will run out even before end of 2025. But okay, fine. That's what we're going to be doing today. Um, and on the extreme end is hey, look, verifiability is going to be important in a variety of use cases, especially in the case of automation, right? So if more and more um, decisions of our lives are being taken by autonomous systems, I think we will need more and more verifiability because verifiability brings down the friction in decision making, right? It brings down the friction in coordination. It brings down decision making in general. So imagine a future in which more and more decisions are autonomous, whether it be through smart contracts or whether it be through AI agents. And if you need to prove things, to these AI agents, to these smart contracts about some information about yourself, verifiability is going to be extremely important. Now, is that information going to come from, I don't know, ZK email or ZK TLS or some other form of a signature? It's hard to say, but I think one thing I can say for sure is verifiability in the context of reducing the friction for decision making in autonomous systems is going to be extremely important, and that is where we will be paying a lot of attention. I'm trying to get into the weeds of like the blanket statement that I could have made is, hey, verifiability is important, but I think that misses the point. Like, it always has to be associated with a use case. I think that's a theme that has been recurring in this podcast. Is you always have to take a problem, you always take a particular use case and try to solve for that. And I think in the long term, the use case of verifiability is autonomous decision making, whether it be smart contracts or AI agents. and that is something that we will continuously be pushing the boundaries on.
That's a perfect answer to me because now I know where your motivation is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, yeah, before we wrap up, I think you just mentioned that in 2025 you will have a new brand. Would you like to give us some heads up about some other upcoming milestones?
For sure. Oh, there are like a lot of super interesting things that are going to be coming out in the next few days, weeks, months. Um, of course, as I mentioned, we're going to be having a new brand that's basically just going to be doing background verification, right? We will share. It's not secret, but it's just that we've not yet figured out all the details yet. We don't even have a brand name yet, but it's something that we're already doing. We have even right now, if you go to reclaimprotocol.org/identity, no, we already have that um, pseudo brand per se. Um, so that's one thing that's going to come out. The second thing that's going to come out is, of course, we started all of this with solving a problem for Questbook, um, and we've not yet been able to solve the entire problem until now. Now that Reclaim Protocol is now stable, like look, now Questbook is something that has thousands of like 20, 25,000 users every month, and we can't push something that is unstable on Questbook because it's like a pretty big deal. Like there are millions of dollars being secured by that product. So it's something that we have been very cautious about. Of course, we've done tests, but nothing into production. So in the next few days, we're going to see a big update on Questbook with reclaim proofs. Not just for the identity part of things, but when you're applying to these grants, you make claims about your team, your previous experience and stuff like that. All of that is also going to be Ziki proven. So that's something that's going to launch. I think it's already ready. It's just a matter of us making the announcement. Um, so those are like two big things that are going to come out in the next few days itself. Uh, yeah, I think I don't think there's anything else that's interesting enough.
Mm, sounds exciting. So, we have one last question for you, a quick one. Please name a project that you're bullish about.
Okay, okay. Here's my absolute favorite is um, this product called P2P Me. Um, it's um it's a decentralized on-ramp off-ramp in India. There is one in the US as well called ZK P2P. Um, but the one that I'm referring, they're great as well. ZK P2P is awesome, but I think they're undergoing a revamp of their current product. So I think once they're out with their new product, I think they'd be strong contenders for my favorite as well. But anyway, right now, P2P Me is definitely my favorite. Not only because they're a reclaim customer. I mean, sure, that's interesting,
No
but
problem.
it is extremely interesting that they actually have a decentralized system for on-ramp, off-ramp without any centralized entity. And it's almost magical that the product actually works. Unfortunately, I would have in a parallel universe, I would have recommended you to go try it out, but unfortunately, it's a product only for India. But in India, I think it's going to be revolution. It's actually taken off. It's pretty viral in India. Um, if I'm not wrong, they're doing like almost $500,000 of on-ramp, off-ramp every month, every week. I don't know,
Wow.
but a lot of money. Is my point. That's my
Mm,
absolute favorite. I cannot believe that that product even works.
thank you. Would love to learn more about it.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be making a video about P2P Me on my podcast in about 2 or 3 hours. So,
Oh,
at least you can see a video.
yeah, can't wait for it. All right. I guess that's all for today. Maddie, thank you so much for joining us. I think I've learned a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun, in which we talked about ZK without being too abstract. So I really enjoyed that conversation. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much.